Hey guys, so Vanessa Villanueva, Adan with the Moravilla Sales Team here, and we're joined today by Corey Anglin with the Anglin Mortgage Team, as well as Jill Sodafsky from the law offices of Jill Sodafsky.
So we'll take a quick second, let them introduce themselves. These are two of our trusted partners that we do a lot of work with.
So I will first say I'm honored to be here with you guys. First and foremost, I'd like to send well wishes from the Anglin Mortgage Team to everyone that is dealing with this and just existing. So we definitely hope everyone is, doing their best to maintain through these, troubling times. And again, happy to be here. So Corey Anglin, branch manager with Homebridge Financial Services, partner and owner of the Anglin Mortgage Team.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jill Sodafsky, law office of Jill Sodafsky. Thank you guys so much for putting this together. I think it speaks volumes to what you guys are willing to do for your clients to kind of put their minds at ease right now and, just kind of keep everyone posted because it's really uncertain times that we're in and, communication is just, it's always been, and even now, so is more, is more just key. So I'm looking forward to having a little conversation about where we're at right now and how everything's going. And I'm glad that everybody is doing this social distancing and staying safe and, being productive in the midst of it all. So.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, just to have an idea of what we're really trying to do here, everybody, is that we're getting a lot of questions from our clients, as well as potential clients, people that are interested in possibly moving forward with a transaction. And there's just a lot of uncertainty right now with everything that's going on. So we wanted to really take a chance and speak directly to people that we trust as resources, directly with Corey as a lender and directly with Joe as an attorney, because there are a lot of evolving things right now in regards to a real estate transaction. And we want to make sure that is clear for all of our clients, both new and past clients. So we're also going to throw in some questions about people that, for people that actually currently already own a home, as well as questions for people that are trying to maybe finalize a process that they were already in contract, and then also some questions for someone that could be starting from the very beginning. So that being said, guys, are you ready for some questions?
Let's do it.
All right, beautiful. Go ahead.
So I guess the first question goes to Corey in just understanding where we are right now with the market, like how interest rates have been affected, just the overall loan application process and what that intake should look like or what will be looking like. So if you can kind of touch on that a little bit.
Sure. So from an industry standpoint, guys, I mean, this is a tough time. We're all operationally dealing with how to manage social distancing while still providing high levels of service to our referral partners and to our clients. For people who are currently in contract, it is business as usual. And I say that with an asterisk attached to it because we do have some challenges. We're still trying to make some sense of what are we dealing with in terms of receiving municipalities from the local courts, whether appraisers will have access to properties, whether inspections can take place. So we do have some question marks. And for people that are currently in our pipeline, whether they're refinancing or purchasing, again, we're still moving the process along, but we're dealing with a lot of real-time things that are unfolding, on a day-to-day basis. But things are still moving along. Loan applications are still coming in. We're still closing loans. We had a few closings last week that took place via mail, where the seller's attorneys received the documents 2 or 3 business days in advance. They signed, sent it to the buyer's attorney, they signed, and we were able to get the closings done. So, businesses, transactions are closing. We're just figuring out creative ways legally to make it happen so that we can make all parties feel comfortable.
Awesome. And I guess, Jill, you've had some experience as well this week with how closings or people managing closings. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit, I guess, about your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I actually just had a closing on Saturday because Friday we realized that the closing that was scheduled for today was going to encounter some hiccups. And, we had some parties that were in the at-risk, realm and didn't really want to be in the same room. And it took a team to make it happen, and we got it done. We had the mortgage broker stepped in, and he drove from one borough to the other to get some documents signed and pick up some powers of attorney forms. We had a title company go out of its way for us to allow us to use their space. We were, using Clorox wipes the whole time. And, we had the agents working with us. We were actually able to do a walkthrough. I think that even just from Friday to today, things are very different. And, I think that, it's really just important in the midst of all of this, just to, be respectful of people and their fears and their concerns for safety, and be really flexible and just, respectful of and professional with each other. Because we have to remember that, there's stress coming at us from all ends because no one knows what's going on right now. And working together is just, it's just imperative.
Absolutely. And to both of you, how has the digital notary affected what you guys are able to do or get to that point where you could talk about closings?
I mean, for me personally, right now, it hasn't actually come into play yet. I actually started working with my clients last week to get documents notarized before this happened. And so I have a lot of clients that have already been able to provide them, so it's not really going to be an issue. For the ones that it will be an issue for, I think just with everything else, it's just a matter of staying in communication with each other, letting the other parties to the transaction know what you need when you need it. Basically it's, like for example, my clients will be having me do the document signing. So they can give me power, but I can't notarize them, right? Because I can't be a notary on a document that I'm being given power for. Right. So, but if people in the industry need each other, we're reaching out, preparing notaries, and we just have to make sure we get the original documents within 30 days.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And Corey, what about you?
So in terms of digital notary, that's more, I think Jill spoke very well to that. But what I can say is that our industry, the banking industry, has embraced e-signing, e-consenting for some time now. So that process has been made easier, although it does require more communication because we do have some older buyers and people looking to refinance that are not too computer savvy. So it does require more communication. I'm now doing screen sharing, so I'm walking people through the process to show them how to get their e-signing and e-consenting done. But again, I think if we come together as a community, agents, attorneys, we can definitely make this process a little easier because it is very stressful. And like Jill mentioned, from a day-to-day basis, things are constantly changing. We just have to figure out how to keep the highest level of communication, how to continue to deliver raving fan service, which is a big theme for the Anglin Mortgage Team. And I think if we do that collectively, we'll get through this. We definitely will.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Now, I think we jumped right into just the closing aspect. So why don't we backtrack a little bit to talk about the people who are just kind of walking into a situation where they just signed contracts, they're about to start their loan application. What can they expect as far as like with the appraisals, right? Because there's been some changes in progress with the appraisals.
That's correct. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac recently, as of yesterday, they sent out a directive. And basically to summarize, we are allowing appraisals to happen. If it's a limited cash out refinance for refinance, or if it's a purchase transaction, depending on the parameters, they are allowing external appraisals to take place. Okay. If it's something that requires cash out from a refinance, or it's a purchase transaction that is atypical, we will require full appraisal access. We are still allowing appraisals to happen. Inspections are still taking place. So I haven't heard anything from our appraisal management companies as of today that appraisals are not taking place. So we're still moving forward with those as planned.
Okay, gotcha. So there are certain checklists or requirements in order to have a drive-by appraisal. It's not just
that is correct
in anything.
That is correct. And the basic premise is that safety first. If we can create an environment where appraisals for purchases and refinances can take place without interaction between the appraiser and a homeowner, I think that is the foremost concern for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and each individual lender. In scenarios where there's a renovation loan or an in-depth analysis or pictures of the interior of the home are warranted, well, we will have to have those in those specific cases. But I think safety first is the premier thought process at this time. And we want to make sure that we can get this done for people, not limit people from moving forward, but keep everyone safety at, as a primary concern.
Gotcha. So touching on that, Corey, can you also elaborate a little bit more on the 90-day forbearance that Governor Cuomo has issued on mortgages?
Sure. So again, guys, I'm dealing with this in real time, like you guys are. So Governor Cuomo signed an executive order basically mandating financial institutions to honor a 90-day forgiveness period for people that are experiencing financial hardship. So we're still waiting for directives to provide clarity on exactly what that means. I am receiving communication from borrowers that have, who have questions. And, what I'm saying at this time is, listen, guys, we're unclear on what constitutes a financial hardship. So the last thing I would want is for someone to miss a mortgage payment and have a late payment on their credit report. So until we receive further clarification, I'm just telling people let's continue to keep the lines of communication open. If you have an extreme hardship and you're unable to pay your mortgage, I think that this will fall in line. But again, I'm still waiting on clarity on exactly what constitutes a financial hardship. Is it a job loss? Is it some time away from your employer? That we're waiting for clarity.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question actually for both of you, if you wouldn't mind. So normally whenever we talk to new clients in regards to the buying process, we usually give a window anywhere between 45 to 90 days for like your basic purchase, right?
From beginning to end.
From beginning to end. So we're talking now just like a general purchase of like a single or multi-family, and nothing out of the ordinary. Now, with that taken into consideration, with all the different tools and the ways that we're going about doing this, would you say that process is extended now, and how long?
Jill, do you want to take that, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I mean, so, to kind of piggyback on, Corey's sentiment of dealing with it in real time, right now there's a lot of unknowns, right? There's still buildings that are allowing people to move in and out. There's still moving companies that are functioning and handling, essential business. But not all of the companies are, and not all of the buildings are letting people in and out. Not all the management companies are even open right now. And so there's still a lot of unknowns. So if you're talking about, an all cash purchase of a house, I don't see that getting very delayed so long as the person selling has a place to go, right? But if you're talking about a finance purchase of a co-op, we are extending that for sure, but there's no idea of a true timeline because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone 30 days from now, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm sure you guys will get to this in greater detail, but is implementing different riders in my negotiation process now that weren't there before, that speak to kind of an uncertain number of delays and how we're going to deal with those, and allowing the delays to happen maybe every 30 days, to get us to that end result when right now that time frame is just so unknown. So I'd love to say that, standard max used to be 90 days. Now maybe it's 120, but, I think in some circumstances, it's not going to even delay it. And I think in other circumstances, the delay is going to be things that we can't quantify right now from a bank perspective or, from a perspective of a buyer or seller being uncomfortable moving in or out and proceeding. I have some clients that we can get a bank to clear, but they're in quarantine with their families, just isolating, not necessarily quarantine, but isolating, and they're just not comfortable leaving their homes right now. So, those kinds of things we don't know yet.
Thank you.
I agree. And to piggyback, and Jill, excellent commentary. So I agree, there's a lot of variables that we're really trying to digest, right? So there's some intangibles that are even a little difficult to predict. So for example, we get past the purchase contract, the appraisal, we're at a point where the loan is approved, we have loan approval conditions in, and we're ready to close. So the conversation I'm having with some closing attorneys is even buyers attaining certified checks. Like, so the financial institutions, a lot of them have closed their doors and they're doing drive-through. So we have variables that we're dealing with in real time that are first time occurrences for us. And we're all trying to figure out in real time how to handle this. So what I'm doing now is extended rate locks. I mean, we're in a very, very volatile interest rate environment. So some of the misnomers and the questions and the calls that I'm receiving, so interest rates are at zero. Well, the truth is that the Federal Reserve reduced the Fed funds rate to a range of 0% to a 0.25%. Now, the Fed funds rate is the rate that institutions are charged when they borrow funds from the Federal Reserve. That does not necessarily dictate interest rates. So I had people calling me saying, oh, interest rates are at 0%. So that's a conversation and a talking point. And it's good because at least it allows for dialogue. But in this environment, we are definitely locking loans for 90 days, 120 days, for a longer time period, just to give us some time to walk through all of the stages and milestones of the typical loan application process. Again, it's, as Jill mentioned, some transactions may be able to close in 45 or 60 days. Some may take 90 days, but I think we're going to do our best as a community to move these deals along as quickly as possible. And the one thing I have to say, guys, too, listen, we all live and die by our ability to provide excellent service and close these transactions. Real estate is the cornerstone of this economy. So hopefully the legislators will come together and keep that in mind, and will push that initiative forward so that we can continue to provide quality housing for people and continue to provide the economic stability that the real estate market provides.
And I wanted to say one other thing, from what Corey was just mentioning. So for example, yesterday I had a client who's trying to get into contract, and they are having a hard time with initiating a wire because the people who are paying are older and they're not very comfortable with the online process, and their banks by them are closed. And so it's not something that's accessible. So, there's still people who want to get into contract. There's still people who want to move forward on both sides of the deal. And there's still attorneys that are doing a great job working together to try to get that to happen. The other attorney that I'm dealing with, the seller's attorney in this matter, he's been really on top of it, talking to his bank. Wires yesterday were crazy. They were so delayed. A lot were not going through that we're supposed to. And so he checked in with me this morning and said, let me know if that wire has gone through yet, because I haven't seen it. But of course, there's these delays. And I just let him know, listen, we're good to go. I have a signed contract, but they're still working to get the wire actually effectuated. And we're talking to people online, trying to find phone numbers of who we can call to facilitate that at this particular bank. And everyone's working together. And so it's not, the delays are, it's not that it's actually not going forward. It's just that we're having these delays and just getting into contract. But it looks like these things are being parsed out. And they're getting cleaned up, and wires seem to be moving smoother today. And every day we're seeing people more on top of things, and things are kind of clearing up.
Great. So one thing that I definitely want to touch on, and I think you both hit on it, is that this is a day-to-day thing, right? So literally, we're having these conversations right now. It's March 24th. It's 1:15 p.m. And Governor Cuomo could go on live right now at 2:00. And some of the things that we just said could change. It literally could evolve at any moment. So that's one thing we want to just make clear, but that's why we're trying to give up-to-date information to our clients, so at least they can know where we're at right now. Nobody can tell you exactly where we're going to be tomorrow, but this is it right now. And the second thing is, I think this really talks a lot about the strength of a team, right? One thing that we always tell our clients, whether we're on the selling side or the buying side, it's all about your team. Your lender, your lawyer, your agent, down to the title person. And I think that right now, real estate and everybody involved in any transaction is really going to understand the value of having a good team member right now, because we're really going to see you're either going to evolve to the adversity, or you're just going to fold. And you're going to see a lot of deals either make or break depending on who's involved in them. And I think that that's really an important factor in all this.
And so, guys, what I'd like to do too, so I have a question for Adan and Vanessa as real estate agents, because you guys play such a vital role in not only the economy, but changing the livelihoods of people who are transitioning from renting to owning. So with the recent changes in terms of how realtors can conduct business, how has that affected how you guys are helping your clients in real time, and what advice would you give to other agents out here that are either new in the business and struggling with how to utilize their time for best practices?
Sure. So I'll start off, and
Sure.
then I guess we'll transition over. But I've always seen how I do business and how I handle my career as a relationship business, first and foremost. So I think that right now is a great time for you to just reintroduce yourself and make sure and just check in on people, see how people are doing, understand maybe where they're affected, people that have already purchased homes that may need to know about this 90-day forbearance and how that can apply to them. Just letting people know about the updates with the foreclosure statuses and evictions and how that may or may not affect them. Just providing content worthy information to allow someone to actually sit back and maybe not be so worried and panicked, but actually have some sort of ammunition. And that's really what we've been doing, just checking in on everybody, seeing how everyone's doing, how they're handling things, making sure that they're just practicing I guess the measures that are being implemented right now. And for new agents, I think this is just really a time to learn the industry, do all your digital webinars, education, introduce yourself to maybe some people. We can have these sort of conversations remotely. So really just making sure that you're just communicating. And then for any clients that right now that we're thinking about buying, the great thing is that we have an app that we've been sending everybody so that we can all kind of share what's on your mind, what you're thinking, kind of saving it and banking it so that when the doors do open, we can actually come into the market ready and focused and know what we're looking for. And because I think once the floodgates open, you're going to have a lot of people chasing the same property, and you might have some competition. So just making sure you're prepared for it.
Yep, definitely. And I mean, you said that very well. And the one thing I will add is that this is a legitimate shift in the business. So
Yeah.
what we're doing today is not what we were doing 2 weeks ago. And I think that applies for most industries at this point. We're not calling people to try to get them to sell their house. But I do need people to understand that there are situations in people's lives where selling a house becomes a real necessity. And that's the people that we want to make sure that if they're in our client base, that we want to make sure that we're there for you. Because let's say, for example, you already had a deal going and you already made a purchase in another state. What's going to happen now if that deal in the other state closes and you're still here trying to figure things out? And this is where we come in, and we're going to try to make sure we get that done. And we're actually dealing with a client like that right now. Yep. We actually have 2 clients. All the listings that we're going to be putting up, for the most part, it's going to be because there's a reason for it. We're not out here soliciting people to try to sell or to buy a house. But if you have a legitimate need or you have a concern about your current living situation, we're here for you. And that's the main thing that we want to get across, is that we are a resource. If we don't have the answer, then we know people like you guys that can get it for us. Either way, we're going to make sure that your need or your concern is met to the best of our ability. And that's what we're here to do.
Perfect. Okay. Very well.
So guys, I think that's pretty much, for the most part, the questions that we've had. What we're going to do is that we're going to be receiving questions from our social media followers as well as our clients, and we're going to try to get some of those questions together, put them together, and maybe we can sit down and do this in another week or two, and we can follow up with more up-to-date information and really just be that resource for people that have those questions.
Sounds great.
It sounds very good. For anyone that has any specific questions, you can reach me on Instagram at, you can look up Corey Anglin and Anglin Mortgage Team, Facebook and LinkedIn, just look up Corey Anglin as well.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we tag you guys so that if anyone does have any specific questions, they can go ahead and follow you or just reach out to you guys directly.
Sounds great.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you, guys.